Good day, my beautiful disciples. The Sensei here again, and we are back at tackling math and science with Sensei Mohau. If you are new to our family, please press the subscribe button down there below and also that notification bell so whenever I post a new lesson, you will be notified. So, and welcome to Sensei's family. So today I'm gonna be continuing the question paper June grade 10 on question 5 and question 6, where I'll be dealing with the graphs, the functions, parabola, hyperbola, and straight line graph, and also sketching. On the last video, on the previous videos, I did this question. Here's question 4, and we were answering these questions. And also on the previous ones, I did inequalities. So if you haven't yet watched those videos, you can go back and watch those videos so that you will keep on track, so that whenever you may encounter this similar questions in the exam, in the future exams, you will be knowledgeable, you will know how to tackle this type of questions. So let's begin. So question 5 says, given f of x, which is graph f, 5 over h plus 2, and also g of x minus h minus x minus 4. So now this question wants us to sketch this hyperbola and straight line graph. Remember the reason why it's hyperbola. Remember, another way you can be given this equation of a hyperbola, it's a over x minus p plus p, which means p and q are the asymptotes and a is the slope, meaning whether the graph is positive or negative. So remember now, our a is positive, so which means our graph will be on the first and the third quadrant. And this graph, it has a negative gradient, so which means it's negative m. It will be like this, more or less like this. So now let's start sketching. So now whenever I'm gonna start with a parabola, hyperbola. So now remember, when it comes to hyperbola graph, there are two things we must keep in mind. We have the asymptote vertical, or let me just write p and q, which is for the vertical, and for the horizontal asymptote. For q, it's 2, which means it's the asymptote that is going through the y-axis. So it's from 2 like this. So now this is the asymptote q is at positive 2 here. So I'm gonna use this ones. So remember, whenever now we are looking for the coordinates, let's just use the table where x, y, it's from, let's start from negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. So we are doing for this ones of the hyperbola. 5 divided by negative 3 plus 2, our answer will be 1/3, and this one it's negative 1/2. Okay, so negative 1, negative 3, the answer For 0, the answer is 2. Oh, error. Oh, because of it's error here, because of the graph will not reach that point at x equals to 0 at the origin. It will not have a coordinate at the origin. So now this is 1, which is 7, and 2, it's 9 over 2, which is 4,5, and 11 over 3, which is equals to 3,67. So now here we know it's at 0,5. This one is at 0,3333. So now let's start plotting now. So at -3, it's at 1/3. So on -2, it's at -half, -2, -half here on the side, and on -1, it's at -3. So you can see that our graph is going like this. Here on the side, it's going like this. It will not touch, oh sorry, like this. Let me just, it will not touch the asymptote. So this is a reflection over this asymptote. So now let's do the one at the first quadrant. So at 1 it's 7, at 2 it's 9, at 2 it's 4,5, 4.5 here, and at 3 it's 3,6, somewhere here. So you can also see, even though I didn't add a lot of coordinates like 4th and 5th, you just note, if you do it, you will see that they will never touch the asymptote. So something like this. So then after we must label the graph. Let's label it that it's the graph of f. So now let's do the graph of g. So g is y equals to, so we are looking for the coordinates of the graph of f of g, sorry. So -3, it's -1 here, and this is -2, and this is -1, it's -3, and 0, it's the y intercept, it's -4 obviously, and at 1 it's -5. So you can see that it is going further and further downwards. Here it will be -6, -7, -8. Yeah. So now let's start plotting. These are the points we are gonna use. Let me use a different marker. So at -3, x where it's -3, it's -1. So at -3, it's in -3, it's -1, -3, -2, it's at -2. So it may be where they may still touch here. At -1, it's -3, it's here. Oh, they they have an point of intersection, and at 0 it's -4, which is the y-intercept, and at 1 it's -5, -6, -7. So yeah, let's just leave it there because of it will need me to extend the graph and do coordinate of, okay, let me just do it, even though it will make everything messy. And -3, it's -7, it's a bit here, and this one it's somewhere here. Yeah, sorry for that. So our two graphs will look like this. Let me label this one, it's graph of G. So they will both look like this. So now let's go to answering the questions. The equation of asymptotes of f. So we know that the equations of the asymptote, the first asymptote is 0 for the x asymptote, or for the asymptote that cuts through the x-axis, the p, it's 0. When they want the equation, they want you to write them down like this. So it's question 2. Question 3, they're looking for the domain. I'm just gonna do everything here so that I can even show you on the graph or how you tackle this type of questions. So remember now here, when we're looking for the domain, remember that the domain of the graph of f, so the domain for this graph, take a look at this. From the negative x-axis, we don't know where or which point, so that's why we say the negative x-axis. Then it goes, then here at the axis, you can see at the axis, it doesn't cross over the axis. So it will cut here at 0, and then it will continue here on the side going to the positive x-axis. So it's from the negative x-axis 0, then it will increase, then it will start again at 0 to the positive x-axis. So now here we cannot really say that they are included, because remember that it doesn't even touch here at 0, you can see. So let's do the next question. If k is equals to greater than the value of k if it's 2 times g of x, so we will do it like this. So let me find another page, since, okay, let me just do it here then. So if k of x is equals to g of x, so the equation of g of x is -4 -x. So we just multiplying or factorizing it by 2, which is multiplying it by 2, then it will be -2x -8. This will be the value of k of x, which is basically the equation of k of x. So write down the coordinates of the x and the y intercepts of h. If h is reflected above the y-axis, or is g reflected above the y-axis. So remember, whenever we reflect this above the y-axis, the x value will change. So instead of it being -2 negative, or this, it will change. It will become, let's do it like this, negative. So here, the reason why I did negative here on the side, let me just write down question 4, this is question 5. So remember, this x value will change. So if it was a positive y value, we must make everything a negative y value. We must change it. So but on this equation, our gradient m is equals to 0. So that's why I want to change every single thing. I want to change the m so that everything here must change. So that's why I'm doing everything here multiplied by a negative sign, which will change the signs of every single thing here. So it will be positive x, positive 4. So this is the graph of h of x. So remember, they said to us that it's reflected above the y-axis. Oh, so now here, oh, it's reflected above the y-axis. So the x value must change. Oh, so here it's when it's reflected above the x-axis, whereby the y value changes. So this for now it's invalid. So but then you will just keep in mind whenever you are asked to do a reflection above the x-axis, the y value will change. So now we know that x value will change. Sorry for that. X value will change. So instead of it being a positive or a negative x, it will become a positive x. So now our x value will change. X value changes. If it was negative x, it will become positive x. So now remember, now let's try to look at it in our graph. So now our this from this coordinates here, it's 0 and y, and for x, it's for the x-intercept, y is equals to 0. Let's find x-intercept, whereby y is equals to 0. It will be x is equals to negative 4 here. So now if x is equals to negative 4 here, so whenever it is reflected above the y-axis, so which means that this graph, instead of being it here, it will go to the other side like this. So which means that our reflection, the x value of the reflected graph will be at positive 4, but the y value by the y-axis will still remain the same. So let me just use this black one. It will be here. At 4. So our x-intercept here will be 4. So x-intercept will be 4 and 0, and the y-intercept will be, here it was negative 4, so it will still remain the same. So this is when we reflect it over the y-axis. So I'm gonna still do the one of reflecting it over the x-axis, so our y value will change. So now if our equation, I'm still gonna use the same equation, this one. So it's negative 4 and 0. Our x-intercepts are negative 4 and 0, and our y-intercept is 0 and negative 4. So now if it is reflected above the x-axis from the normal one, the purple one, let me do this. So from here it will move to the other side. So you can see that only the y-intercept changes, but the x-intercept will still remain the same. So it will cut here at 4 and negative 4. So it will be, for the reflected one, the x will still remain the same, x-intercept, but the y-intercept will change from negative to positive, sorry, from, it will be like this. So this is whenever we reflect it over the x-axis, and this is whenever we reflecting it over the y-axis. This is just an example. I know it's not in the question because the question said that reflected over the y-axis. So I'm just doing this example so that whenever you will encounter it in the near future, you know how to tackle it. So for this question we are done. So let's go to the next question, question 6. Question 6 says the graph of g of x is equals to minus 2 h of x plus 8. So this is an exponential graph. So remember, because of we have negative 2 here, it shows us that the slope is negative. But then the asymptote, it's so now note that our a it's negative, so that's why this graph is negative here. So now it says write down the range of g of x. So remember that the range, it's affected by this, so by this asymptote here. So now the range is affected by this asymptote. So remember that whenever we're doing this equation, it's like this: a b to the power x plus p plus q. So now remember that p, it's 0 here because you can see that it's x plus, it's to the power x only. So our p is 0. So now q is 8 here. So now 8 is the asymptote. 8 is the asymptote. Sorry for the spelling error. So 8, so the range is affected by the asymptote. So let me just write 8 here. So it's from the negative x-axis till 8. So y is the element of real numbers from negative x infinity, negative y infinity to 8. Then union, that we adding them, or you can just say end 8 till, no, yeah, you can just do it like this since we don't have a reflection yet here. We're just gonna leave it like that here because we don't have a reflection or graph on this other side. Unless maybe they did a reflection, we were gonna do something else. So just leave the answer like this, or you can just write it like this: x is less than 8. That it's less than 8 from 8 downwards. So you can just do it like this, or that still give you the marks. So b, so it's the x-intercept. So we know that x-intercept y is equals to 0. So y is 0 here, and negative x to the power x plus 2. So here we basically solving for x. When I take this to the other side, it will become a positive. So we can just do logarithm of 8 base 2, 8. It's gonna give us 3. So, or we can just do it like this using exponents. We know that 2 to the power 3 is 8 because it's 2 times 2, which is 4 times 2 is 8. So therefore x is equals to 3. So b, remember, like I said in the last questions, in the previous ones, that whenever they're saying coordinates, you must write the answer like this. They know that you're gonna solve it, but you should write down coordinates like this after solving. So 6.3 says if g of x is reflected over the x-axis, so reflected over the x-axis, reflected over here, it will do like go to the side. So the y value changes. We know that it will be somewhere, something like this. So then it's reflected over the x-axis, so right, determine the value of g of x. So g of x, the equation will be, since we know that the only thing that is changing here, it's the intercept, and also the y-intercept is changing, and also the asymptote will change. It will come this side to -8, so it's, and the graph will increase. Now note that the graph will increase from being negative, it will now become positive. So it is 2x plus, oh sorry, -8. So it's basically us doing like this, plus 8. We just do like this. This will be a positive 2x, and this will be a -8. So this is the graph of h of x. Remember, this is our asymptote, will be here, down here at -8, and but our x-intercept will still remain the same. So this is the graph of g of x. So explain, this is the last question, explain why the x-intercepts of g of x and f of x are still the same. The reason, it's basically like I said, that whenever we reflect over the x-axis, the y value, only the y value changes. So the x-intercept will still remain the same, but the x-intercept will still remain the same, but the y-intercept will change. So we are done with tackling the grade 10 question paper, and hope you enjoyed it. And if you have not yet subscribed, please do the right thing, and also welcome to Sensei's family. And for today we are done. Enjoy the rest of your week or weekend. I don't know whenever you watch this video, but cheers, sharp.